Have you ever wondered why the most powerful person in the room is often the one who speaks the least? Or why the most brilliant minds are those most willing to say they do not know the answer? Stay with us until the end of this journey, because what we are about to uncover is not just a lesson in character, but a secret key to a kingdom of peace that most people spend their entire lives searching for without success. If you are ready to transform your relationships and find a calm that nothing can shake, listen closely. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. These words, spoken centuries ago on a mountainside, carry a weight that our modern, ego-driven world often struggles to understand. To be poor in spirit is not to be weak, nor is it to be subservient or lacking in intelligence. Rather, it is the ultimate expression of humility. It is the state of being teachable. It is the profound realization that no matter how much we know, how much we have achieved, or how right we believe we are always students of life, and always in need of a higher grace. In our daily interactions, we often feel an almost physical urge to prove our point. We live in a culture of claps and likes, where the loudest voice is often mistaken for the most correct one. But true greatness lies in the quiet strength of not needing to be right all the time. Imagine a situation at work or within your family where a disagreement arises. Even if you hold the facts in your hand, even if your logic is flawless, the poor in spirit individual recognizes that the relationship is more valuable than the victory. They understand that leaving space for the other person to arrive at their own conclusion, in their own time, is an act of divine love. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself, it is about thinking of yourself less. It is the difference between a closed fist and an open hand. When we are full of ourselves, full of our own opinions, our own pride, and our own rigid expectations, there is no room for the kingdom of heaven to enter. In this context, the kingdom is not a distant place after death, but a state of being here and now. It is that sense of peace that settles over your soul when you stop fighting the current of life and start trusting the process. Consider the depth of this concept in the context of scientific discovery. The greatest scientists in history were those who recognized the vastness of their own ignorance. Isaac Newton once remarked that he felt like a boy playing on the seashore, finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, while the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before him. This is the essence of being poor in spirit. It is the intellectual humility that drives curiosity. When we think we have all the answers, we stop asking questions. And when we stop asking questions, we stop growing. One of the greatest enemies of this spiritual poverty is the phrase, "I was born this way and I will die this way." We often hear people hide behind their temperament or their age as an excuse for rigidity. They claim that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But in the spiritual realm, this is a fallacy. To say you cannot change is not a badge of authenticity. It is a confession of stagnation. Life is a continuous evolutionary process. Spiritual growth requires us to be like water, flexible, adaptable, and willing to take the shape of the vessel that holds us. Regardless of whether you are 20 or 80, the moment you decide you are finished is the moment you begin to wither. Being poor in spirit means maintaining a beginner's mind. It is the willingness to try new things, to listen to the perspective of a younger generation, and to admit that a long-held belief might actually be wrong. There is a magnificent grandeur in the person who, despite their years of experience, still approaches a conversation with the curiosity of a child. This flexibility is not a sign of a weak mind, but of a strong soul. It takes immense courage to dismantle the walls of our own ego and admit that there is still room for improvement. In the realm of psychology, the need to be right is often a defense mechanism for an insecure ego. When we feel threatened by someone else's opinion or pace of life, we tend to lash out or attempt to dominate the conversation. But look at the masters of peace. Look at the figures who have moved history not through force, but through a gentle, unyielding presence. They are those who have realized that their worth is not tied to their correctness. They are secure enough in their identity to allow others the space to be wrong, to be slow, or to be different. Consider the life of someone like Abraham Lincoln, a man who led a nation through its darkest hour. He was constantly surrounded by critics, even within his own cabinet. Men like Edwin Stanton openly called him a fool and a low, cunning clown. A man of lesser spirit would have used his power to crush such dissent. But Lincoln was poor in spirit. He recognized Stanton's talent and kept him in his service because it was best for the country. Eventually, when Lincoln was assassinated, it was Stanton who stood by his bed and said through tears, "There lies the most perfect ruler of men the world has ever seen." Lincoln's humility did not diminish him. It made him immortal. It allowed him to keep his peace while the world around him was on fire. We must respect that not everyone is at the same pace as we are. Just because someone sees the world differently, or processes information more slowly, or struggles with a concept that seems simple to us, it does not mean they are behind or less evolved. We are all walking different paths on the same mountain. When we look down on others from a height of intellectual or spiritual pride, we lose our own footing. The moment you believe you have arrived is the moment you stop growing. Think of a parent teaching a child. A father does not get angry because his toddler cannot solve a calculus equation. He meets the child where they are, with patience and encouragement. We are called to have that same heart for every person we meet. Every human being is a masterpiece in progress. When we allow others the space and time to grow without our judgment or constant correction, we are practicing the humility of the heavens. But how does this manifest in the mundane moments of our lives? It looks like the driver who lets someone merge into traffic without a second thought, even if they were cut off. It looks like the spouse who listens to a repeated story for the 10th time with a smile because they value the connection more than the "I've heard this before" correction. It looks like the manager who takes the blame for a team's failure but gives away the credit for its success. It looks like the person who, after decades of thinking one way, listens to a new argument and says, "I had never thought of it that way. Thank you for teaching me." This spiritual poverty is actually a form of ultimate wealth. When you are poor in spirit, you are not burdened by the heavy luggage of an inflated ego. You move through the world with a lightness that others find magnetic. People are drawn to those who are teachable because they feel safe around them. There is no fear of judgment, no threat of condescension. True peace of mind is the reward for this surrender. It is the calm that comes when you stop trying to play God in your own life and in the lives of others. It is the realization that the universe is being handled by a much more capable hand than yours. When you let go of the need to control the narrative, when you let go of the need to be the hero of every story, you finally become free. You become a vessel that can be filled with something much greater than your own ego. Let us look at the concept of time. In our rush to achieve and to be seen as successful, we often trample over the rhythms of the soul. We expect ourselves and others to be optimized at every moment. But being poor in spirit means honoring the process. It means trusting that life unfolds in its own season. If a friend is struggling to overcome a habit or a mindset that you conquered years ago, remember that your pace is not the universal standard. Humility whispers that you too have areas where you are still a novice. The kingdom of heaven, in this sense, is the cessation of the internal war. It is the end of the struggle to prove your worth. When you realize that your value is inherent and divine, you no longer need to extract it from the submission of others. You can afford to be generous. You can afford to be wrong. You can afford to wait. This is the path to the kingdom. It is a path of soft words, of listening hearts, and of a quiet confidence that does not need to shout to be heard. It is the beauty of the soul that knows it is small in the grand scheme of the cosmos, yet infinitely loved by the creator of it all. It is the strength to be silent when the world demands noise. Reflect on the silence of the stars. They do not boast of their light, they simply shine. Reflect on the depth of the ocean. The deepest parts are the quietest. This is the invitation of the Beatitudes. To descend into humility is to ascend into the presence of God. It is to find that the kingdom is not a political entity or a geographical location, but the atmosphere of a heart that has let go. As you move forward from this moment, try to carry this poverty of spirit with you, not as a burden but as a light. When you feel that heat rising in your chest during a debate, breathe. Remember that the person across from you is a soul in transition, just like you. Choose peace over being right. Choose love over being superior. In that choice, you will find that the kingdom of heaven is not somewhere far away, but right there in the quiet space between your heartbeats. In the long run, our legacy will not be the arguments we won or the status we achieved. It will be the way we made people feel. Did they feel seen? Did they feel respected? Did they feel like they had room to breathe in our presence? Humility is the greatest gift you can give to another person, because it grants them the dignity of their own journey. May you find the courage to be humble, the wisdom to be teachable, and the grace to let others be exactly who they are. For in the end, it is not the most right person who wins, but the one who has loved the most and found the deepest peace. And now, let me ask you something. If you love this story and want to hear more like it, please hit that subscribe button, share it. It truly means the world to us and helps us grow. And hey, while you're at it, let's aim for 50 likes on this video. Help us smash that goal.